Hello and welcome to another review on FSElite. I'm Tom and today we will be taking a look at the Kodiak 100 Series 2 by SimWorks Studios. The Kodiak is an aircraft originally developed by Quest Aircraft and now Daher. The Kodiak, or Kodi as some refer to it, first flew in 2004 and was certified by the FAA in 2007. Over the course of production, the aircraft has seen multiple iterations and refinements that adds new options for customers. The aircraft's closest rival is the Cessna Caravan, which is larger and has a less powerful engine. The Kodiak 100 by SimWorks Studios is a Series 2 variant, which Daher first unveiled in 2018. This model has several improvements over the Series 1 and comes equipped with a Garmin G1000 NXI system. The list price for the Series 2 Kodiak is around $2.15 million US. The Series 3 version has just been unveiled in March of 2021. Fortunately, the SimWorks Studios Kodiak is much less expensive at €29.99, which is around $34 US or 25 pounds at the time of writing. The aircraft comes with 4 models with 5 interior options, these being models with and without a cargo pod and with or without tundra tires, and each model having their own weight and drag values. The interior options include cargo, passenger, mixed, skydive, and summit. The aircraft is also fully compatible with the working title G1000 NXI. However, it is important to note that future versions may need to have an aircraft update to maintain compatibility should something break. The full 35-page manual for the aircraft is available for free on the SimWorks Studios product page. A second 6-page manual comes with the aircraft detailing the switch bindings. This wheeled version of the Kodiak is the first planned package with an independent amphibian package in the works with a base price of €14.99 planned. This review is based on the release version v1.0.0 released on December 17, 2021. Getting to the modeling and texturing of the aircraft, the Kodiak is well captured. Compared to pictures and video of the real-world models, I struggle to find anything that looks out of place. SimWorks Studios has stated that the aircraft was developed from Daher's own factory CAD data, and the results show. The details everywhere are well captured from the gear to the tail on all variants. On certain power settings and certain speeds, the tail surfaces also shake, which I thought was a great touch since it is very obvious on the real version. The additional external animations are also well done, such as the doors, flaps, other control surfaces, and gear flex. Just be sure you properly latch the cockpit door before starting off. When the parking brake is engaged and the aircraft is shut down, wheel chocks appear. The aircraft also comes with plenty of textures for all variants from the get-go based on what the factory offers. Textures throughout the aircraft are high quality. In total, 36 factory and 4 custom liveries are included. Inside the aircraft, we see much of the same level of detail. The aircraft faithfully represents the real thing, and there are plenty of animations from armrests to doors and windows, tables, and most importantly, the cup holders. You can even adjust or close the air vents should you choose to. As mentioned earlier, 5 interior models are included. These changes are mostly reflected behind the cockpit with different seating arrangements and configurations. A feature I liked is that as the load is changed within the sim, the respective areas are appropriately loaded with either a passenger model or an amount of boxes that varies based on weight. The animations of the various switches, knobs, and levers throughout the cockpit are also well done. I especially like the attention to detail on the cable attached to the yoke. If you have the skydive interior selected, you have a dive light switch on the panel, and the light and door in the back respond to it. For me, some of the click spots felt a bit off for some things. It's like the area that I had to click was unaligned with a switcher button. I asked friends with the Kodiak if they experienced this at all, and they denied it. So my best guess is something on Microsoft's side, as I've had issues between the Sims legacy and modern cockpit interaction systems in the past, and it could be still a factor now. At night, you have plenty of customization available to you for lighting. The backlights of the panels and floodlighting are variable, and the reading lights can be individually controlled. The v1.0.4 update, which was released on December 24th, 2021, enabled night dimming for the G1000. As mentioned, I am on the v1.0.0 version to maintain consistency for this review, so I did not test it. One issue I did notice is that the active lights on the autopilot and audio panels and the angle of attack indicator will fade out if I have the camera positioned too far back. This is even more pronounced for me in VR with an HP Reverb G2, where even a normal head position has the lights missing, and leaning forward causes them to reappear. I confirmed this issue with two other friends, one with and one without VR. The exterior lights are atmospheric, and I like the inclusion of the pulsing landing lights, which will not start pulsing until 30 seconds after they are turned on. The sounds of the aircraft are some of the best I've experienced in Microsoft Flight Simulator so far. Everything sounds great, from the engine, to the switches, to the doors and windows opening, and even the different modes and configurations of the air system. I'll play a selection of sounds now and let you decide for yourself. As I mentioned earlier, the aircraft includes compatibility with the working title G1000 NXI. This is a great addition to the plane, and I'm thankful we have the working title team allowing developers to use this for their products, especially when the planes use it in real life exclusively. It saves development work from having to make the same system over and over in differing amounts of detail. That said, due to a bug in the G1000, the pilot and co-pilot PFDs are currently mirrored, but the manual states that SimWorks Studios intends to make them individual once that bug is resolved. SimWorks Studios has also included a number of enunciators that can appear on the G1000, with the possibility of more being added in the future. For non-G1000 systems, most of what you would expect for an aircraft of this type is included. The engine parameters are all affected by the configuration it is currently set up for and affected by weather conditions. A number of items in the aircraft are non-functional, but these are mostly emergency use items that you wouldn't always interact with anyway in a day-to-day use case. Some examples are the emergency power level and a few select circuit breakers, and the engine inlet override switch. Most everything else, including most of the circuit breakers, are functional otherwise. Though this isn't an aircraft where you should expect complex system failures to occur, you can simulate failures by pulling the appropriate circuit breakers, and should you choose to fail the G1000 system, the backup ESI 500 gauge has full navigation capabilities built into it, making it a very advanced little display. The autopilot system performs well for the most part. It has the ability to climb at a set speed via flight level change and descend on a VNAV path. I haven't had issues with it following a path set in the GPS or by VOR, however it does currently have issues trekking in ILS. During the descent, the aircraft will overcorrect and wander side to side and eventually miss the runway entirely. This issue is known by the devs and will be fixed in a future update. Another thing I noticed was that the Hobbs meters counted way too quickly. A flight of an hour or two was showing as 7 to 8 hours. Nice for time building, but not accurate. Fortunately, the developers are already aware of this as well, and a fix is coming. Flight dynamics for this aircraft were interesting to test. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the review, this aircraft is smaller than a Cessna Grand Caravan, but has a more powerful engine. That engine has a ton of torque, and it demands respect. For the release version, I had quite some difficulty getting it off the ground at the speeds and weights listed in the manual. I did not respect the torque and P factor that this aircraft has, which almost always led to a stall and corkscrew after liftoff. It took the right amount of rudder trim and waiting for a slightly higher speed to get a successful takeoff. It's also worth mentioning that there are two separate speeds listed for rotate and takeoff that are 19 knots apart. Be sure you differentiate these two and don't rotate too quickly that you take off before the takeoff speed. I should also mention that the version 1.0.4 did address some of the excessive nature of this P factor, but still within ranges that their real-world Kodiak pilots agree with. One developer on their Discord server said that they tune the aircraft not by what people think is too hard or too easy, but by what the Kodiak pilots think is right. So, with the wide range of FS hardware out there and users only able to replicate a certain degree of how the aircraft actually feels, it's difficult to get the handling right from the start. The devs give new builds to their test pilots, and they say if something feels more right than previously, even if the previous build felt right. That said, even with the 1.0.4, friends have confirmed to me that while reduced, the P factor and torque is still something that demands respect, which is most definitely a characteristic of the real plane. For climb rates, cruise speeds, and other parameters, I managed to find a pilot's operating handbook for a Series 1 Kodiak, and the performance values were pretty similar to the in-sim performance. Definitely what I would consider within reasonable error, given the differences between the Series 1 and Series 2. Hand flying this plane is very easy. It's a docile and responsive aircraft both at low speeds and high speeds as long as you remember to keep that P factor in mind. There does appear to be quite a bit of adverse yaw with the plane, and I'm not entirely sure how accurate this is since the only reference I could find to it was a Flying Magazine article saying it doesn't have much adverse yaw. It could very well be due to the excessive P factor on my build, or not using rudder pedals as effectively as I could with my cheap 11-year-old pedals. An interesting feature is that the Kodiak has an auto trim feature for flap adjustments when above 35 knots, which makes tackling the typical ballooning much easier. Short takeoffs and landings in remote airstrips are exciting, but the aircraft can really surprise you with where it can go. Just be sure to watch the speed on landing. Sometimes you can't go around or stop in time if you float. Performance with the aircraft was excellent on my system and on the systems of friends. In VR, the aircraft performance also felt great with no discernible differences to any others that I've used so far. Overall, the Kodiak is an impressive little aircraft. It's a great, all-rounded bird for bush flying to IFR touring. The aircraft performs well in terms of frame rate and how close it handles when compared to real-world data tables. The SimWorks Studio's team appears to be active in responding to bug fixes despite the holiday season of release, so I'm sure the issues I mentioned will be sorted in short order. For the price, the aircraft is well worth it. With top-tier sounds, working title's G1000 NXI integration, which should only get better over time, challenging flight dynamics which are accurate to the real plane, attention to detail between models, and the ability to go almost anywhere, the Kodiak 100 Series 2 is one I can definitely recommend. Have you picked up the Kodiak? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. We'd like to hear what you think.